morning gets frantic, panicked phone calls of an attack by the Hamas. The son of a friend of his has been taken hostage. He drops what he's doing, picks up his pistol, gets into his Audi and goes, chases the Hamas. He gets his son in the end as well. To tell us about this most incredible story of valor and Israel's do-it-yourself spirit, I'm joined now, live and exclusive on India Today, by General Israel Ziv. General Ziv is a retired Israeli Army general. He's been head of the Operations Directorate of the Israel Defense Forces. He's a decorated paratrooper. General Ziv, welcome. I'm the son of a military veteran myself. I had goosebumps as I was reading the story of your valor and what you did to protect your country and your people. Thank you for joining us and thank you for sharing your story with us. General Ziv, can I start right at the beginning? Take our viewers through what that Saturday morning was like. You out on your bike, how did you start getting all these calls about a Hamas attack, and what was your most immediate reaction? General Ziv.
Yes, thank you very much for your interest and the care. For me personally, it was a normal Saturday. I was actually, doing my bike. I was biking around my home, and we heard alerts in Israel very soon, by the telephone or what is going on, and we assumed that it's a rocket came from Gaza. We didn't figure out how big it is. It took something like 1 hour to understand that we have something which is huge or very big or something that we haven't known for the past. So I didn't wait too much. This is what we are trained all our life. And I took my pistol because this is what I have. I took my uniform that are waiting for such occasions in the cabinet and ran down to Gaza to engage the troops and to see how can I help. The sights that I've seen, I realized that I've never seen such a thing ever before, not from Gaza, and in a way, not elsewhere. Maybe I saw it, in some battlefield, other places. Me myself, I was in Lebanon. The most important thing is that there were a lot of soldiers, police officers that really sacrificed themselves in order to stop the Hamas. We had a kind of 9 very difficult hours until the reinforcement came.
General Ziv, there'll be many retired Army, Navy, Air Force officers in India who will be listening to this story and they'll be doffing their hats to you, saying, just imagine, here is a retired Israeli general, he's at home, he sees his country has been attacked, he gets his pistol, goes out, starts fighting the Hamas. When you got to the first site of confrontation, when you saw the Hamas in their dozens, these terrorists running rampage across your motherland, what did you see? How is it, according to you, that the famed Israeli defense, the kind of valor that we typically expect and the organizational structure that we expect from the Israel Defense Forces were missing in action that Saturday morning?
Look, there is the personal story and the general story. I did not expect to see such a raid, a massive raid from the Hamas. This is something we haven't seen in the past, and it was a complete surprise, to see not just a terror attack, but really a military attack with huge numbers. They were everywhere. They were everywhere. I mean, I drove in my car and I engaged with some of our units in the field. every, I don't know, 10, 20, 50, 100 meter, 200 meter, you could see them in squads, and they were fighting. They were fighting. They were engaging with a lot of hatred, to come and, by the way, most of it on civilians, just butchering civilians. It was quite a hard day, to be honest, even to somebody experienced like me.
So now you're in that Audi of yours. You've got a pistol. Pistol has a limited number of bullets. The Hamas has solid assault rifles. How did that go? The first confrontation, you coming in contact with the Hamas, you opened your pistol rounds of fire.
First, the engagement, some of them were in close contact, so even the pistol was a little bit relevant. But besides of that, some of the soldiers got wounded next to me, so I used his rifle to keep on fighting. Yeah, this is what was the reality, what we had in the field. But doesn't matter. As a soldier, even if you have only a knife, you have to do what you have to.
You know, from the impression that I gather by reading your account and others, it seems in the initial phase, the Israel Defense Forces were caught off guard, totally surprised, and didn't seem to be able to get their act together. Why do you think their instinctive reaction, in the manner in which your body told you to react, your trained mind told you to react, why is it that we didn't see that from those who were serving on that day?
It's a big failure. Look, I think first we failed in the intelligence, in the alert. We didn't read the signs, and we didn't read the amount, the quantity, how big it is. And second thing, the whole system collapsed because you are not just relying or supposed to rely on intelligence. Intelligence is very important. But still, we have a defense system heavily rely on the fence, the wall. We have a wall over there with a lot of sensors, a lot of technology, and I think we may have trusted too much that obstacle, and we were falling asleep, and they caught us, with our pants down. There's nothing good I can say about that.
So you fought the Hamas yourself. You're arguably the senior most officer to have personally got into combat with the Hamas, and you've dealt with them, you said earlier, through your military career. When you look at the
Yes,
level
of
of
course.
preparation of the Hamas, how do they compare with the Hamas of the past that you fought with, the Hezbollah who you say you took on in Lebanon? Did they seem better militarily organized, trained and prepared? Because the Indian army fights a lot of terrorists in Jammu and Kashmir and elsewhere. We don't see this kind of military precision, this level of planning, this level of organization from terror organizations. It almost seems as if at that time the IDF wasn't taking on a terrorist outfit, they were taking on an army, except as an army of terrorists.
I agree. I know the Hamas very well. I fought them many times, not only them, almost all our enemies around. I've never seen the Hamas in that level. I admit. It's a huge leap, and I think it's not just about them. I think it's very clear to see the Iranian fingerprint on their doctrine, on their planning. Even the plan itself, it's very similar to the plan that we know that Hezbollah is planning in the north. And it's kind of a copy-paste of the same plan. So yes, it's something that in the last year or so they've prepared, and unfortunately they've succeeded. They succeeded to surprise us, but we are trained enough to overcome, and this is what happened. It took us 24 hours, but we turned the whole thing back, took the control, took the initiative, and now the situation in the field, of course, is fully
So let's come
controlled by
back to
us.
Saturday for a moment. You are running out of ammunition on your pistol. You pick up an assault rifle from an Israeli soldier who's injured. Then you open fire with that assault rifle. You actually go with a friend of yours to save his son, who's at that moment in a position where the Hamas is all around him. Can you describe that operation and what happened then?
Look, once we finish with that specific group that tackled us, I continue to the next village. Unfortunately, a friend of mine, another general, there are a few, by the way, retired generals there, I'm not the only one, and he had a member of his family trapped in enclosed in one of the kibbutzim around in the kibbutz Nachal Oz. So we met together, and I went to help him to get together to the kibbutz Nachal Oz to engage with another unit, small unit, and release his family. So this is what we have done for the next kibbutz and the next kibbutz for the past few days. Yeah.
So you actually, despite at this moment being a retired general of the Israel army, went into an active encounter, got out people who were caught in the midst of firing by the Hamas and brought them out. Ever since your story hit the international headlines, I want to tell our viewers that General Israel Ziv has become a bit of a cult hero in Israel and globally for his valor, for his do-it-yourself spirit. When the system is down, the individual stands up and fights back. From then, I am told that you've had multiple interactions with senior officials in Tel Aviv, in the Israel government. What have you been telling them? What did you tell them? Why did Israel fail? What does Israel now need to do to ensure, you said you were caught with your pants down, to ensure that such a thing never happens again?
First of all, let me correct you. I'm nothing but a hero. I'm not a hero. This is, when you are a soldier, you are a soldier. Doesn't matter what rank or what is your age. And it's your character to protect others, and this is what all of us and myself as well are doing. So, and I think that look, that surprise was a big surprise for the government as well, and it took the government a few days, to come for reality, to understand how big the problem is. It took them too long. Yeah, I mean, 5 days to create the emergency government. It's much too long. But people are people, and now things are in place. I think we took the initiative. We are now in a massive offense on Gaza. We gave our warning to the Hezbollah not to mess just now at this critical moment when we are attacking the Hamas. We still recover our casualties, but we have a big numbers. The numbers that have been published until now, it's not the whole numbers. We're still identifying bodies. We still see the horrified scenes.
Okay.
I was there, but when I went to the next day to see that, terrible to
I
see
want
that.
you to
Very
look
hard.
ahead, General Israel Ziv, and talk about your sense of the operation in the Gaza Strip. Now, you've got at least 150 Israelis hostages. You've got a situation where the IDF has found it difficult to maintain occupation of the Gaza Strip, which is why in the mid-2000s you came back. You left the Hamas to run the Gaza Strip. A street battle in a densely populated urban enclave is a military man's nightmare. How do you see that operation go? You're saying you want to raise the Hamas to the ground. How do you see this military operation proceed from here?
Look, first of all, the hostages thing, of course, it's a big issue, and we have a special task force to deal with that. We take it very seriously. We dear care about each one of the Israelis over there. But we are not going to negotiate with the Hamas. And we are going to fight this war like there is nothing else to stop us. If they want to return our hostages, it might help them. But we are not going to spare all the Hamas and everybody that is connecting and helping the Hamas and their infrastructure. So it will be wise for their side to do humanitarian act. It might help them. I'm not sure it will, but it might help them. We are going to full attack to erase every infrastructure, everything that belongs to the Hamas cannot stand there. We have tried for many years, to have Hamas. It didn't work. Yeah, we closed one eye, two eyes, because it's a terror government, but no more. They
General
have
Ziv,
crossed terrible line that we are not going to suffocate, and they're going to pay for it. And we will not see and suffer any Hamas anymore in our next to our border.
General Ziv, you said that you're not a hero. In every definition of how military heroes are defined, I'd say you're more than just a hero. You're an inspiration to your country, you're an inspiration to everyone who's listening to the story at this moment, and to so many military veterans in India who'd be listening to your story. They'll all say, as would I, hats off. Well done, sir. What an incredible
Thank you.
fight
Best
back.
regards for the Indian people.
Thank you so
We
much,
love them.
General Israel
Thank
Ziv,
you.
Israel's diehard, for joining us on India Today, for narrating your story, and for your epic valor and bravery. Thank you, sir.
You are watching India Today, powered by Finest, Be Sustainable Change, a BNP Group company.
Again, you hear another blast.
You just heard those sounds of blast.
The focus of the Israeli army is on the Gaza.
It's terrifying. We lost everything.
The situation here remains extremely tense.
We have seen what has happened in Israel in the recent days. Hamas, a terrorist organization based in Gaza, carried out barbaric terror attacks on the Israeli citizens. But everyone is asking this question, that despite having the best intelligence in the world, how could Israel could not sense what was going to happen, and how could Hamas carry out these kind of terror attacks?
We don't know all the details yet. It was a surprise, clearly a failure of our intelligence, a failure of our operational forces on the spot, which ended up within 24 hours. We lost 2,000. Within 24 hours, we lose 1,200 people, most of them civilians, and about 180 that were hijacked into the Gaza Strip. So it's a major blow, unprecedented in the history of the country, a barbarian attack, attacking the civilians in the style of ISIS, Daesh, as we call it in the Middle East. And we have to kind of respond. We are united now. We are fighting. We will leave all the details of the surprise to be clarified once we end the war. We cannot do it through the war. But we are united, and I can tell you, Israel is going to win this war as well.
Israel has the right to defend itself, and they have suffered horrendous terrorist attack over the weekend with many civilians killed. And Israel has the right to defend itself against these types of terrorist attacks. Then I also expect that, of course, when we see Israeli responses, it will be proportionate, and it is important, as this conflict continues, to do whatever is possible to prevent the loss of innocent civilian lives.
You're watching 6 p.m. Prime. I'm Akshita Nandagopal, and as we keep a focus on the Israel-Hamas conflict and the war stories of the tragedy that unfolded over the weekend in Israel continue to come to the fore. And joining us here today is Eyal Harmati, whose 81-year-old grandmother was killed by Hamas terrorists. She was shot dead in her bed. Eyal, first of all, let me begin by offering my condolences to you and telling you how very sorry we all are over the loss that you've suffered, that your family has suffered. Can you tell us exactly what happened to your family?
Yes. So I woke up at October 7th at 6:30 a.m. from siren alarms. There were rockets all over our heads. We were all panicking. I was home alone. I didn't know what was happening. And I started calling my family to see what's going on. Is everybody safe? I didn't think that was real at the moment. Like, I just woke up. And I started reaching out to family, and then I got a call from my sister. She was panicking. She told me that my grandma's partner ran to her house after the sirens and found her dead in her bed, shot in the head. She was lying there helpless in her bed, an 81-year-old woman, and her partner was next to her, panicking, calling us. He was crying, he was screaming, and I can't forget those screams. Both of my sister and my grandma's partner, they were all panicking, and we just woke up. We didn't know what was happening. How is this, like, is this real? Like, what's going on? And then news started to flood in that terrorists from Hamas infiltrated Israel, and they were starting to commit crimes and attacks and terror attacks upon everyone, all of the Gaza Strip, like all around the Strip, all the kibbutzes around there. And we have more family and cousins who live in those kibbutzes, and they were texting us that they're hiding in their shelters and their homes. Okay. And there's terrorists around their houses trying to break in, and there's bombs and rockets and fires all around. They're burning homes for people to get out of their shelters, and they try to murder them. And my grandma was helpless. She couldn't do anything. She was just lying in her bed in her home, and they shot her in the head. They lied there for 28 hours until they were rescued. 28 hours without any help. They were just sitting at home, waiting for some miracle, for somebody to come and help them and rescue them. And it's just awful, like, what's going on from these terror attacks. It's just unbelievable.
I'm so sorry about what has happened. You know, what you've told us is so sad. The rest of your family who was there, are they okay now? They were hiding for 28 hours. How did they manage to get away from these terrorists?
Yeah, so we were texting our cousins and uncles over there because they couldn't talk on the phone even, because they had to be quiet so they don't hear them from outside. And they were crying, and they were like shouting for help through the phones, through the text messages. They were just helpless. They're all safe now. One of my cousins was hit by a rocket fragment in his hand, and he had to go through surgery yesterday, but he's safe and healthy now. But we lost our grandma, and she was the most loving person in the world. She just wanted to live the rest of her years with her grandkids, with her granddaughter. She was just the most amazing person in the world. She was loving, and she loved the kibbutz where she grew up. And it's just awful, like the terror that Hamas is causing.
Your family was, in fact, in Kibbutz Be'eri, which is one of the worst affected. About 100 dead reported there. There were some reports that suggested that babies were beheaded. What kind of atrocities did really your family members see when they came out of hiding?
So they've seen hundreds of bodies while they were evicted from the kibbutz. Like, they told me throughout the roads, they've seen bodies thrown in the middle of the streets. Like, the stories from the kibbutz Be'eri next to them, it's a kibbutz like less than a kilometer away from them, was full of murders and beheading of children, raping. They lit people on fire. Over 112 casualties in Kibbutz Be'eri. They passed through the kibbutz and saw all the horrors from outside. Like, these are acts that no one except for terrorists can commit. Like, this is worse than ISIS. This is unbelievable what they're doing. Like, this is the most inhumane, atrocious acts of terror you can even imagine. You can see people who are rescuing bodies crying out of fear, out of disgust from what they are doing. And the world needs to know this.
And again, I'm so very sorry, and please accept our condolences for what's happened to your family. There are unfortunately countless such stories that are emerging currently out of Israel. Thanks, Eyal, for taking the time out and joining us here on India Today. We'll continue getting you the latest on the Israel-Hamas conflict. I'm slipping into a short break, wrapping up this edition of 6 p.m. Prime.
You are watching India Today, powered by Finest. Be Sustainable Change, a BNP Group company.
In the wake of the worst ever terror attack on the state of Israel, the fighting is still continuing in small measure. It's useful now to compare some of the weapons in one of the most imbalanced powers between Hamas on the one side and Israel on the other. One, a terrorist group, the other, the Jewish state. Take a look, for example, at artillery, much of which has been used in this exchange so far. Hamas has been deploying Al-Qassam rockets. These are rockets that are built in Gaza itself, thousands of which were used in the opening hours of the attack on October the 7th. Israel has much more sophisticated artillery like the Laram rocket artillery launcher. M302 rockets supplied by Iran, like much else, to the Hamas, which they've been using against Israel in many of those attacks, as opposed to the Iron Dome, one of the most sophisticated systems built to intercept those incoming rockets. The Fajr 5, another Iranian rocket used by Hamas. M109 howitzers, heavy artillery used by Israel. 120mm mortars also deployed occasionally by Hamas, compared to the much more sophisticated and advanced Atmos 2000 self-propelled howitzer. So that's as far as artillery is concerned. The Conquer's anti-tank guided missile, it's of Soviet origin, also known to be used by Hamas. But Israel has the formidable Merkava tank, which are going to be very much part of the siege of Gaza as we see it. Let's move from artillery now to small arms. We saw terrorist foot soldiers on a killing spree inside Israel on October the 7th. They were largely using some American rifles, but largely Kalashnikov rifles of the AK-47, AK-56 variety. Israel has its own small arms industries. Tavor rifles, which even the Indian army incidentally uses, are used in large measure. The Hamas uses PKM light machine guns. Israel has the Negev a light machine gun, which also incidentally is used by the Indian Army. Let's move on to drones now. The Al-Zawari drone, these are small tactical drones capable of dropping grenades, have been used. We don't know if they were used in this conflict, but the Hamas definitely has them. The Hermes 450 and 900 drones, which are optionally armed, are deployed by Israel, and they have been used before. Israel also has the much more advanced Heron TP. It's a long-range, high-endurance drone that can drop weapons. Obviously, the Hamas doesn't have any real air force. It has drones, but it has no manned aircraft of any kind, not even helicopters, compared with Israel, which has one of the finest and most capable air forces in the world. They've got F-16 Sufa fighters, which are doing much of the bombing in Gaza as we speak. Also F-15